Congress launched a lot of new young faces, but one thing that we saw especially amongst them were the new young politicians who have been working really hard, got themselves a ticket and also finally won as well. I'm joined here by Nayana Motamma. Well, Nayana has just been elected from Nudigere constituency. She may be a first time MLA, but she has been working from a very young age, though let me tell you she's a very accomplished lawyer as well. Thank you so much for joining us here in CNN News 18.
Thank you, Rohini.
And let me tell everybody that we're actually sitting in a bus, in a normal public bus. We're traveling because we've just seen how the Shakti scheme, the free bus service for women, was just launched. And the MLA said that why not do this on a bus itself? So, well, let me ask you straight to the question on the Shakti scheme itself. We are traveling here. It's free travel. We've just interacted with some people in the bus as well. Does it really, these freebies that you're giving, be it Shriha Shakti or Shakti as in travel by bus, does it really empower women?
Don't you think so? Look at the number of women on the bus. There are many more women on the bus than men. And I was just reading in the paper today, a woman was going to the hospital, quite an old lady. I saw that clipping on WhatsApp. And she was saying that she saved money. She was taking her daughter to the hospital. So that money that both of them saved by not spending on the bus ticket, they were able to use it for medicines and for the hospital. So isn't that a great thing? That is empowering women. And especially from a constituency like mine, where I come from, you know, the villages are sort of far away. You know, we have only 30 to 40 houses in a village, and then they have to come to a center point to, you know, for anything, right? Even for a PHC or, you know, that is a primary healthcare center, or to a school, or, you know, they want to buy some daily essentials.
Correct.
So these things, you know, women get the freedom to do it if you are allowing them to do this freely, right? So they don't need to depend on a man to do it.
No, there was a very interesting and telling photograph that we saw, especially on the launch of the scheme,
Yes.
where this lady touching her head to the steps of the bus saying, I don't have to ask my children money again to travel.
So, yeah, so that's the entire thing. So I wish, you know, you wouldn't call it a freebie, but actual empowerment of women. I think that's what it is. I think that's what the focus of the government has been. I mean, you know, other than the Shakti scheme, you know about the Lakshmi scheme too. So that is for women. I mean, both those schemes are targeted at women, and I think we are especially focused on doing women-oriented programs because they were the most affected during the previous regime. If you saw, like, you know, while I was campaigning, and I think if you had seen, you know, the environment during the elections, most women wanted the BJP out. Why? Because they were feeling the pinch of the price rise a lot. Like, you know, be it gas or be it daily essentials. Now, like, you know, by us providing these things to them, you know, they save that little 50 rupees. That makes a lot of difference to the rural lives. And I am a witness to it because my constituency is there.
But can I ask you, in terms of affordability, can the government afford? You made 5 interesting points, or rather promises, through the manifesto.
Yeah.
But the question is, how much money does the Exchequer have, or the Treasury of Karnataka have? Can you afford it? Because you're talking about so many schemes. Is the Congress not overreaching?
You know, Congress gets criticized so often, saying that, you know, we've ruled for over 60 years. Right? So given that 60 years of experience that we have, so we really know how to run the administration. So, you know, for that criticism, I would also like to say, you know, with a pat on my back, you know, coming from the Congress party, that we do have a lot of experience how to manage our finances. I think we were very certain, you know, when we announced these schemes, as to how are we going to manage it. And two, our Chief Minister, I think you and I were previously speaking, the number of budgets that he's presented. I think it is going to be his 15th budget. So, you know, a lot of things comes out of experience also, right? So we obviously know, and I'm sure there are some things like, you know, say some of the MLAs, at least initially, for the, you know, wherever the development, you know, funds that we may ask for development, they may be not... I mean, a little bit of cut down, you know, because so that we can provide this for the larger good, you know, which is a whole lot of women, right?
When you're talking about criticism, I'd also like to ask you, because one question that is always said is that you announce, for example, the Shakti scheme, but then you put riders on it. You announce the Griha Jyoti scheme, you put riders on it. So why announce it without the riders itself? Was it that first attract the voters towards you and then now start putting slabs or riders as to who can avail these freebie schemes?
No, not at all. I think when, say for example, when we spoke about the Griha Lakshmi scheme, I think we're very clear that one woman in a household would be given. And then even when we spoke about the free electricity 200 mega units, I think that also was very clear. It was just about.
But is it for APL families? Is it for BPL families? Now, especially now, let's talk about even the Shakti scheme. Now, when you're asking for your identity card, you should be a Karnataka resident, domicile resident. How do you prove it? Because there are some people who maybe have married from another state, come in here, but you're living here for a while, may not have that Aadhaar card as well.
See, but at the end of the day, you need to be a voter here, right? So there are two things. One is, I think you need your Aadhaar card or you need a voter ID. So if you are one of those people, then the idea is to be able to give this benefit to your voters in Karnataka, right? Not for somebody who's outside.
That's why the smart cards work for that.
Yeah, so that's the reason that we are doing this. I mean, it is for our own voters, and we can't take the burden of another voter, right? I mean, because we are at the end of the day a state. So yeah, I think it's fine to have certain preconditions. I think every scheme has certain preconditions, and I don't think it's something that that people cannot adhere to. I'm sure they can follow that, and basic ones like here it is an ID system. So as and when, like say for example, rice, it's always been known that the 10 kg rice that we provide, it is always for BPL card holders. And that is why that BPL card, a lot of people, they're struggling with it. I don't know whether you're aware of it, but if you've been previously with, before marriage, if you were with the family, so your BPL card is there, for that. Now, if you're married after that, we still don't have that system for transfer that. So, that thing has been sort of closed right now. So there are these anomalies which needs to be removed, but I'm sure as we progress, because it's a 1 month old, I mean, we are only today on June 13th. So I'm sure all these anomalies are going to get ironed out. So, but look at it, we have brought some of the schemes already into place. I mean, within the month of the government coming into this thing. Look at them, they don't even have an opposition leader till today.
Well, women MLA, that's a young face, but women MLA. Let me ask you a question also. While the election campaign was on, you were trolled on social media. There were comments on the way you dress. You were dancing in a video with your daughter. That you face what I call social media trolling, as I said. How do you react to that? And then you came out with an answer saying, "This is how I am." How do you answer to what do you tell these trolls?
Okay, one is that this question has been overplayed so much. I really don't want to speak about it, but since you're a really good friend of mine, I will answer to that. One is I anticipated it already. So I knew that this was coming, right? So, I mean, that's the most easiest thing for them to do.
How
right?
you dress, whether you're dancing, what you're dancing, what tune you're dancing to.
No, not that. I mean, I think they had some of the pictures of me wearing a sari, and then they went suddenly saying that, switch to, that I'm these Western.
You're a modern dressed woman. You wear where you were holidaying, whatever.
So, the thing is, I had anticipated it, and I'd already, this is something that I always have kept it open ever since I've come into politics. That, this is something that I would not want to hide, because I know what public life is. My mother's been in that for more than 40 years. I'm aware of it, and you also know what you can get from the opposition. So I was never worried about it. I never broke a sweat. So they did it 2 days before the elections, and I hear that they took it all around while just showing the voters some of these videos.
Yes.
But people were not affected by it, and I was not worried. I mean, like I said, I didn't give a retort then. I mean, which is the most automatic thing for you to do, right? You would have given a retort then. I waited for the elections to get over. Then they had a video again. So after I won the election, I found it was more appropriate for me to answer. And then anyway, since I had anticipated something like this, I was preparing ground for it more than a year ago, where I had told public, I told my constituents especially, that there's nothing for me to hide. And I said, yes, I am as normal as any of y'all can get. Like sometimes I know that like a lot of our women in our constituency wear pants, dresses, depending on the occasion, right? You go to a temple, you will wear, appropriately. You go to work, you will, wear a particular attire. So similarly, so that's the way I am.
And decouple public and personal life, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we need to show that kind of maturity, and we need to show that to the public, that it's absolutely normal for somebody who's in public life to be that.
But this happened just before the elections while you were campaigning. So the idea also was to ensure that you get defeated, or it affects your the number of votes. Did it affect the number of margin that you you won by?
So 2 days ago I had a meeting. I had a big celebration in the constituency. In fact, it was something where I was giving vote of thanks or thanksgiving to my voters and to my karyakartas. So, which is what I was telling them. I said my people there was so open-hearted, so large-hearted. They took me with wide arms, accepted me with wide arms. I'm in a rural constituency, and for them to accept somebody like me who's sort of modern in their perspective, I think that's the great thing. 224 constituency, out of that I think my constituency is special because of that. So
They're more open-minded.
yeah, I mean, they showed open-mindedness because I was honest with them from the beginning that this is what it is. So it didn't affect my votes at all. I don't think so at all.
Let me come back to more important issues also that we're looking at, and that is the revival of the Indira canteen, because that was also the lifeline of Bangalore and was being decided later. It started in the Siddaramaiah government, in the previous government in 2018. Is there a revival of the Indira canteen as well?
I'm sure that is going to happen. I saw some images of it initially about 15 days ago where some of the canteens were open. I think just look at it. I mean, we were giving food at 5 rupees and 10 rupees. I think breakfast was served at 5 and lunch was served at about 10 rupees, and again dinner was at 10 rupees. And the amount of migrant class especially which is available here in Bangalore, I mean, again that is again savings. And then all the rural constituency also had started Indira canteens in the fag end of our government, the previous government, but they were all shut down. And it really matters to common people to be able to save that 10 to 20 rupees per day. They can use it for something else. And I think that way our government, our party has always been very people centric. Being able to understand people's problems, and when there is price rise, to counter price rise, these are the things I think a government should do. Being empathetic. I think empathy is a huge a factor. Which a party or a government should have towards its people. Right. I think that's why we were voted back to power. I think that empathy was missing with the BJP, which they found within the Congress. I think people realized that after 5 years, that this is something that only Congress can give and no other party can.
You represent a seat called Mudigere, which is on the way to Chikmagalur. And recently a lady who was on her way to Dattapita, Baba Budungari in Chikmagaluru, she wrote a letter to the president saying that she was forced to defecate in the open because there were no washrooms or toilets on the way. And she requested that women, such kind of basic needs, because women health is also important. Would you be raising such issues also on the floor of the house?
For sure. I mean, so I still remember, I don't know, probably I'll get into a controversy for saying this, but within the Congress office itself, I wanted a separate washroom for the women. I mean, I thought that was very important. I remember asking for it, when I was General Secretary with the Mahila Congress. So yeah, these are things which are very important. And since I am in public life, I mean, I travel so much more, and I understand these issues so much more, right? So these things are very important for me. Like, I visited the government hospital. I've done 2 checks, random checks at the government hospital. One of the first things that I did was to check the washrooms. I think that's very important. Like, a lot of people hesitate to go in to see that, the condition may not be good. But no, for me, that was very important. I said, I will go back now and, do a random check again of the government hospital. Because once they realize that, you are stressing on those things, then, the administration or the officers will work in a way to provide that. So you need to force. Sometimes, even if there is political will, I say call it the government will, but the officers are not sort of prepared to do it. So I think you have to work hand in hand and then definitely understand women problems, especially during campaigning. You won't believe it. I was always pre-planned for such situations, and then we as women have other issues too. So, these are things that we definitely need to think about. And I as a woman would love to espouse causes like these.
You said 1 month since the government has been formed. So I'd like to ask you, what is your 1 month report card of your own government?
Of my own government, I think fantastic. Look at how people have been responding. It is exactly what they expected, I think.
And Siddaramaiah as Chief Minister?
Yes, absolutely. I think that is what people wanted, and that's why they voted us into power. And I mean, the entire Congress party, along with Sidramaya sir, KPCC President D.K. Shivakumar sir, also worked very hard, and the entire the senior people and everybody worked together. All the workers, I think. We worked very hard for the last few years, ever since COVID happened. I mean, if there was anybody on the forefront, it was a Congress party, and I think people realize that, isn't it?